I remember growing up in the same church that John grew up in. And Tim was there occasionally. And, of course, I remember Tim's mom quite well. And the tambourine, you know. Remember that tambourine? John, you remember that tambourine? You don't remember the tambourine? Okay, he's got some timers. He don't have Alzheimer's. He got some timers. But I can remember the preachers they used to have way back then, you know. And they had those, you know what are y'all looking at me like that for? You know what kind of preachers I'm talking about. They was the ones that, boy, they scared you, you know. And you always wondered what they was going to say next. Now me, being an ornery teenager, I would go into that church and I would always leave a little bit. I'd hop out of Dad's car and I'd meet my buddies about 3 blocks before. There was Bud, there was Dickie, there was Greg, and all those guys. We used to sit in the back pew. Do you remember any of those guys? Anyway, sometimers. Anyway, I can lie. They wouldn't remember. And we would sit back here, and usually they had a guest preacher, like for a revival or something. And I can remember they would get they would have 3 different preacher voices. Anybody remember those preacher voices? No, I'm the only one that remembers. Oh, come on now. If you've ever been in church long as I have, you'd remember those 3 preacher voices. Because the first of all, I remember that Sunday, I ran to the church with my buddy because I didn't want to be seen with my grandparents. And I ran there and I'd sit in the back pew. And I'd be sitting back there just having a good old time. And about time for the preacher to preach, that guest preacher, and I believe his name was Pete Drazik. But anyway, anybody remember that name? Yeah, I thought you would. And I remember one Sunday he got behind her, he got in preacher voice number 1. And he said, "What shall we do with sin?" I didn't know, man. You know, I'm looking around saying, I don't know. And I'm thinking, boy, that was a voice there. But sure enough, he got in preacher voice number 2. He said, "I said, what shall we do with sin?" I'm thinking, oh boy, if he asks one more time, somebody answer the dude. And sure enough, boy, he got behind that pulpit and he strapped it like a Rottweiler bulldog and he said, "I said, what shall we do with sin?" Anybody remember Barney Fife? I got my best Barney Fife voice and I said, "Pastor, we got to nip it in the bud." And I was thinking, oh boy, I seen Grandma come back here, boy. And she grabbed me by the back of the neck. And she slammed me down onto the pew, and back then they were pews and pine knots. Anybody remember the pine knots? And I swear it went straight through my spinal cord and out the tip of my head, and I said, "I declare I seen a vision." About that time, my grandpa said, "Son, you're going downstairs." And we knew what it meant to go downstairs. Board of Education was applied to the seat of knowledge, you know. And I go back up. Child abuse was never recorded in my day. But boy, oh boy, we learned, didn't we? We learned. It's amazing what kids say, isn't it? You know, I'm just as discerning in my spirit to think, though, as a parent, now I'm a parent, and my kids are grown up. Woohoo! Praise the Lord, they're grown up. And they're out, and they're on their own. Actually, they're kind of on their own. They don't really go away. They keep coming back. And my youngest daughter, she's in college now, you know. But, you know, it's nice being at home with just my wife and I, twiddling our thumbs, wondering what we're going to talk about, you know. But I vowed a long time ago, and I can remember when my kids were wee little, I vowed a long time ago, I was not going to turn into my dad. How many parents here has turned into their dad? Come on, be honest. How many parents here who are women turned into their mom, said things their moms said? We do that, don't we? I said I was not going to do that. There's just no way in the world. I wasn't going to do that. I wasn't going to do it. I wasn't going to do it. About that time, my youngest daughter, who's now in college, she's playing this music upstairs, right? Well, she calls it music. I don't like it. And she's just playing this stuff, and it sounds like this. And I'm rolling over, holding my ears, trying to be nice. And I keep hearing. I got a rule in my house. If the first words in a song starts out with, or yeah, I don't play it. So I go walking up the steps, you know, and I'm going to, and mind you, I said to myself, I was not going to turn into my parents. I just wasn't going to do it. So what did I do? I thought, who better to turn into than my hero, Bill Cosby? So I went going up the steps, and I said to my little girl, I said, hey, little girl, you're not going to play that music. Do anything but play that music. Get some Jello pudding. I don't really care, just don't play the music. And by that time, she says, well, I want breakfast. I said, okay, let's go get some breakfast. So, and I couldn't get out of this voice. I was stuck. So we go down the steps, and I'm looking for something for breakfast. And in the refrigerator is this nice, big chocolate cake. Yeah. So I'm sitting there thinking, well, Bill Cosby did this. Why couldn't I? So we're sitting down there eating that chocolate cake, me and my little girl. My wife comes in and said, that's not breakfast. I said, what do you mean it's not breakfast? It's got the eggs. It's got the flour. Ain't that great? Got me some chocolate cake. And we had a good time. I vowed I wasn't going to, but I'll be honest with you, I've turned into my parents over the years. I said things to my kids I swore I was never going to do. And we say things and we scare them that they know, yeah, right, Dad. Things like this. Now, tell me you haven't done this. Say that one more time, I'm going to throw you through a wall. And do you really think they think that you're going to do that? Oh, I like this one. Say that one more time and I'll skin you alive. Now I see heads going like that, huh? Yeah, aren't you glad nobody really skins you alive? We say things all the time. Words are funny, ain't they? Words are funny. Are you glad to be here? You still glad to be here? We had a little fun. I'm going to make some noise now. Is that okay? All right.